Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from Your Overwatch. I'm Eddie the Chump, and today's the day Hammond is finally live. He's available to play for the very first time for all you console players, so I really hope you're excited to finally get your hands on him. Now remember, he is still only available to play in quick play. He's not going to make it to competitive for around about 2 weeks. But to be fair, that should give you enough time to get used to his crazy high mobility playstyle. The first time you come up against him with his quad cannons, adaptive shield, rolling mech, grappling claw, and pile driver ability, I should imagine you'll be quite taken aback. But a brand new hero isn't the only thing that this patch has delivered. Now if you've been keeping track, there have been quite a lot of iterative changes to quite a few heroes on the PTR. And I'm going to go through the changes of the patch that we've actually received today, as some of the very latest updates to those heroes haven't carried through, but some of the earlier ones have. So let's begin with the biggest notable change, and that's the fact that several heroes have received major changes to their damage fall off. Bastion, McCree, and Soldier have all received buffs to their minimum damage at maximum range, going from 30% to 50%. Mei has had all damage fall off removed from her endothermic blaster projectile shot, making it quite a serious threat from long range. And Widow has actually caught a small nerf. Her Widow's Kiss SMG mode previously didn't have damage fall off, and now it does. Now it's at 50% at max range. So the takeaway from all those updates is that McCree is going to be an absolute monster, especially when you consider he receives that buff and can be played in competitive, but Hammond isn't yet, which I think was the primary reason for all this damage fall off adjustment. So for the next 2 weeks, enjoy this McCree mains. You're going to be an absolute god. Sorry Farah, and I guess just about everybody else. Now Hanzo also has some of his PTR nerfs, but not all of them. The Hanzo we currently have has the Storm Arrow's duration reduced from 6 to 5 seconds, and its cooldown increased from 8 to 10 seconds. His lunge nerf from 4 to 5 seconds hasn't carried through yet, and neither has the actual reduced amount of Storm Arrows you get when you use the ability. If I had to guess, all those later rounds of changes, including some of the significant support ones, won't be put into the game until at least Hammond is in competitive. There is also a apparent bug fix to Mercy which affects Hanzo as well. In the patch notes it says, fixed a bug that allowed Mercy to damage boost certain abilities, e.g. Hanzo's Dragon Strike, Diva's Self-Destruct, and Junkrat's Steel Trap. Like we said at the time, that's a bit of an indirect buff for some defensive ults like Trance, but I've never been totally convinced about this change's necessity. You guys will have to let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Now moving on, this patch does bring a new version of Sombra, but unfortunately it's not the absolutely newest version of Sombra, and this is the iteration that most people were unhappy with. The patch notes detail that her stealth now lasts indefinitely, she can no longer contest objectives while invisible, enemy detection radius has increased from 2 meters to 4, which if you remember on the PTR was actually reverted back to 2, and a movement speed buff while invisible has been decreased from plus 70% to plus 50%. That goes along with her translocator also having an indefinite length, but it can be destroyed by enemies and Sombra herself. Apparently it has 5 health. Now hopefully the latest changes to the reduced sound cues for the translocator have carried over from the PTR, as well as her not having to look at it to destroy it by pressing a button. But if the status of her detection radius is anything to go by, that actually might not be the case. This version of Sombra is the least popular ever, I feel, and it's very rare for me to actually recommend not playing a hero, but if she's going to get buffed slightly again in 2 weeks time, there might be a case to be made for not picking her until then. I have to say it's kind of a weird patch. It's kind of half and half. I would have personally liked to have seen all the changes to the support heroes go through, as I liked most of them. Things like Mercy's healing going from 60 to 50 heals per second, Lucio getting a 2 meter buff to his aura radius, plus Drop the Beat giving people 750 shields versus 500, Moira getting her healing resource regen buffed a tiny little bit, but the one I was really looking forward to because I want to play more of her were the changes to Ana's Nano, which I obviously made a video about a few days ago. Perhaps you can argue that they didn't quite have enough testing time for them, and if I do only have to wait 2 weeks, I guess it's not that long. I just can't currently take my mind off the huge McCree buff, really. Being able to 2-tap headshot targets up to 30 meters and 3-tap headshot targets up to 40 meters is very spicy indeed. Like we've said previously, I don't think people are quite ready for a McCree of that power. But hey, I used to play him quite a lot, so maybe it's time to pick him back up again. Now there are a few other interesting changes to some of the mechanics with how the games work, so I'm just going to go through them now. On assault maps for quick play and arcade modes, the objective time has been reduced from 5 minutes to 4 minutes per control point. And the developer comments say, we have reduced the overall game time for assault maps in quick play and arcade modes. Players now have 4 minutes to capture each point instead of the current 5 minutes per point. In some games, point A would be captured rather quickly, resulting in what could be lengthy battle over point B. Point B is typically more defendable than point A, and in some games, defenders were able to hold for the entire duration of remaining time, which could potentially be 8 minutes or more. We felt that in these instances, the overall time was simply too long for either team, with attackers unable to take the point and defenders having to hold. The overall effect of that reduction in time is that those modes are now consistent with competitive play, which I guess is good because a lot of people are going to be playing quick play at the moment because that's where Hammond is available. Now, there was also another change which makes stalling in certain game modes and defending in general a little bit harder. The patch notes say, when final objectives of non-control maps are contested for extended amounts of time and attackers have an advantage in numbers, the respawn time for defenders will now increase even faster. The developer comments continue, in a previous patch we added a system to adjust the respawn rate of defenders in situations where attackers had a prolonged advantage in fights on final objectives. We're just making the system a bit more aggressive to further reduce the duration of the long, drawn-out fights that can occur when the defender spawns are so close to the action. So an immediate example that jumps out in my head are maps like Volskaya and Hanamura, or even payload maps like Junkertown or Dorado. So stalling is effectively nerfed, and attackers should find it easier to finish those sometimes troublesome maps. You know what? Personally, I'm kind of totally okay with that, although for 2CP it might mean that we end up going on the merry-go-round and have matches that seemingly go on forever as both teams complete the map over and over again. Don't worry, we'll just have to rename the mode 12CP instead of 2CP. Now, there were a couple of smaller changes made to the Lfg system, which I personally really like and I know a lot of people have asked for. The patch notes say that they've added a button that allows you to queue into the selected game mode once the group becomes full, and they've also added a button to relist groups in the Lfg browser when the group has an empty role slot. Way more convenient, great job Blizzard. So overall, there's quite a lot that's great about this patch. Hammond coming to the live server is obviously a huge deal. If you play McCree a lot, you're about to have the best 2 weeks of your life. As for the further changes to Sombra, Hanzo, and a lot of the supports, perhaps Blizzard just thought there was too much changing all at the same time, and they'd rather see how this meta settles before going all in. As always, guys, the comment section is the place to go with all of your feedback. What do you think of the changes that have come through today? Do you think they should have thrown caution to the wind and just gone all in anyway? Or do you think their approach is kind of sensible? Whatever your opinion, I really hope that you enjoy the new hero, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a rating. If you never want to miss another video of ours again, please click the bell icon next to the subscribe button on our channel to join the notification squad. You'll be in great company. And finally, please follow the Your Overwatch Twitter. It's where you can find updates about new videos and other cool stuff. I've been Eddie the Chump, and until next time,